The alien shuttle landed at Haven Colony's civilian spaceport, with a soft thud that shook the ground for 100 meters in every direction. The ship was sleek and silver with curves that hurt human eyes to look at directly. 5 figures stepped out of the craft, moving with the careful steps of beings who were not used to this planet's gravity. Ambassador Kethavar led the alien delegation toward the terminal building. He was tall even by Zephyrian standards, with blue-green skin that shifted colors based on his mood. His diplomatic robes were made of expensive materials that caught the sunlight and threw it back in patterns that danced across the landing pad. Behind him walked 4 guards in black armor that covered their bodies completely. Lisa Carter waited for them in the terminal's main meeting room. She wore her best formal clothes, a simple gray suit that made her look professional but not fancy. Beside her stood Jake Morrison in his military uniform, his hands clasped behind his back in a way that made his shoulders look even broader than they were. 2 guards in Haven Colony Defense Force uniforms stood by the doors, their weapons clearly visible but not pointed at anyone. "Welcome to Haven Colony," Lisa said as the aliens entered the room. She did not stand up or offer to shake hands. Alex Rodriguez had briefed her on Zephyrian customs, and she knew that showing too much respect early in negotiations would be seen as weakness. Kethavar looked around the room with eyes that missed nothing. The furniture was simple but well made. The walls had no decorations except for a large flag showing the emblem of the Terran Republic. What caught his attention were the guards. Their weapons looked advanced, more so than what his intelligence files said humans should have. "I am Ambassador Kethavar of the Zephyrian Empire," he said in perfect English. "I speak for His Imperial Majesty Zexthon III, ruler of 47 star systems and protector of over 200 billion subjects." "I am Lisa Carter, Administrator of Haven Colony," she replied. "I speak for the 12 million humans who live in this system and serve the Terran Republic." Kethavar sat down across from her at the polished metal table. "Let us discuss your situation. Your people have built a colony in space that belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. This creates certain legal problems that we need to solve." Lisa's expression did not change, but Jake Morrison shifted his weight slightly. Both humans had expected this approach. The aliens thought they could simply claim the system and force the colonists to accept their rule. "This system does not belong to the Zephyrian Empire," Lisa said calmly. "It belongs to the Terran Republic. We have been here for 137 years. We have built cities, raised families, and defended this world against multiple threats. Our claim is absolute." Kethavar's skin shifted from blue to purple, a sign of surprise among his kind. 137 years? That is impossible. Our records show that humans achieved space travel only recently. You do not have the technology for long-range colonization. "Your records are wrong," Jake said, speaking for the first time since the aliens had arrived. His voice was quiet but carried the tone of someone who was used to being obeyed. "Earth began sending colony ships to distant worlds over 2 centuries ago. Haven was one of the first successful settlements. This was a lie, but it was a lie the colonists had prepared long ago. The truth was more complex and more dangerous than they wanted any alien species to know." Kethavar leaned back in his chair. "Even if that were true, it does not matter. The Zephyrian Empire has the right to control all systems within its sphere of influence. Your presence here is illegal under galactic law." "What galactic law?" Lisa asked. "We never agreed to any galactic law. The Terran Republic makes its own laws." "The law of the strong," Kethavar said, and his guards moved slightly closer to the table. "We have the power to enforce our will. You do not." The tension in the room became thick enough to cut with a knife. Lisa could feel Jake's muscles tense beside her, ready for action. The human guards by the door did not move, but their hands were now resting on their weapons. "You are threatening us," Lisa said. It was not a question. "I am explaining reality," Kethavar replied. "The Empire offers protection to all species who accept our authority. Those who refuse face the consequences of their choice." In the security center beneath the terminal building, Captain Ben Parker watched the meeting through hidden cameras. His Special Forces team was ready to move if the aliens tried anything violent. More importantly, the colony's defense systems were now fully online and tracking every alien ship in the system. "They are really doing it," muttered Chief Engineer Maria Santos as she monitored the conversation from the main command center in New Boston. "They are actually trying to threaten us into surrendering. Dr. Alex Rodriguez shook his head as he listened to the alien ambassador's words. They have no idea what they are walking into. Their intelligence about human capabilities is at least 50 years out of date. Back in the meeting room, Lisa Carter made her decision. Ambassador Kethvar, let me be very clear about our position. Haven Colony will never submit to alien rule. We will never pay tribute or accept protection we did not ask for. If you attempt to force us to do either of these things, we will resist with all our strength. Kethvar's skin went from purple to red. You would fight the Zephyrian Empire? You and what army? Jake Morrison smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. The army we have been building for over a century. The army that has been waiting for someone like you to show up. The alien ambassador stood up from the table with jerky movements that showed his anger. This meeting is over. You have made your choice. The Empire will respond accordingly. I hope you will reconsider your position, Lisa said as she also stood. Haven Colony wants to live in peace with all species, but we will not be conquered or enslaved by anyone. Kethvar and his guards left the terminal building without another word. Their shuttle took off with a roar that rattled windows for kilometers around. As soon as they were gone, Lisa activated the colony's emergency communication system. This is Administrator Carter to all settlements. Her voice carried across every radio and television on the planet. The alien contact has failed. They have threatened to use force against our colony. All defense protocols are now active. Repeat. All defense protocols are now active. Across Haven Colony, 12 million people moved into action. They had been preparing for this day since childhood. Every adult knew their job in the colony's defense plan. Every child knew where to go for safety. Jake Morrison contacted the orbital defense platforms. This is Colonel Morrison. Alien shuttle is returning to their main ship. Track it, but do not fire unless they make aggressive moves. Copy that, Colonel, came the reply from Defense Platform 7. We have them on sensors, also tracking their main ship. Sir, that thing is armed with weapons we have never seen before. Understood. Maintain watch and wait for orders. Lisa Carter sent an emergency message to Earth using the colony's quantum communication array. The message was brief but carried everything Earth needed to know. Haven Colony under alien threat. Species unknown. Hostile intentions confirmed. Requesting immediate strategic guidance. The message would take time to reach Earth and more time for a reply to come back. Until then, Haven Colony was on its own. In space above the planet, Ambassador Kethvar reported to his captain with barely controlled rage. The humans refuse all reasonable terms. They claim they will fight the Empire itself rather than accept our authority. Captain Vexhara listened to the report with growing concern. Something about this situation felt wrong. The humans were too confident, too ready for confrontation. Species did not usually threaten the Empire unless they had something to back up their words. Send a message to Imperial Command, he ordered. Tell them we need military support. These humans may be more dangerous than our files suggest. On Haven Colony, the colonists settled in to wait for the aliens' next move. They had food, water, and ammunition stored for months of fighting. More importantly, they had weapons and defenses that no alien species had ever seen before. The real war was about to begin. The alien ship dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light that hurt the eyes. Captain Vexhara of the Zephyrian exploration vessel Stellar Wind stretched his forearms and checked the navigation display. The star charts showed nothing here but empty space and a few dead rocks floating around a yellow sun. His crew needed rest after 3 months of jumping from system to system, looking for new worlds to claim for the Zephyrian Empire. Captain, we have a problem, called out Navigator Quintos from his station. His voice carried that worried tone that made Vexhara's skin change color from blue to purple. The sensors are picking up something that should not be here. Vexhara moved across the bridge with the quick steps of his kind. The display screen showed the third planet from the sun, a world of blue oceans and green continents. What made his heart race were the bright spots of light scattered across the continents. Cities. Someone lived there. Run a deep scan, Vexhara ordered. Check for any ships in the area. If this world has space travel, we need to know about it now. The scanner operator, a young female named Zexara, worked her controls with fast fingers. Captain, I am reading multiple energy sources. These look like power plants, big ones, and there are metal structures in orbit around the planet. They look like space stations. Vexhara felt his stomach drop. The Empire's record said this system was empty. No intelligent life anywhere near this part of space. Yet here was clear proof of a civilization that could build cities and space stations. How had the Empire missed this? Send a message to Imperial Command, he told his communications officer. Tell them we found an unknown civilization in the Kepler 442 system. Request instructions. On the planet below, Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of Defense Platform 7, watching the alien ship through his enhanced telescopes. The platform floated in space above Haven Colony's main city, hidden by technology that made it look like space junk to most sensors. Jake had been waiting for this day his whole life, just like his father and grandfather before him. Contact Admiral Carter, Jake told his communications officer. Tell her we have visitors. Big ones. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and the steady eyes of someone who had seen combat. He wore the dark blue uniform of Haven Colony Defense Force, with the silver eagles of a full colonel on his shoulders. His great-grandfather had been one of the first colonists to reach this world, back when Earth still thought they were alone in the galaxy. That was before humans learned the hard truth about space and the things that lived in it. The message reached Colony Administrator Lisa Carter in her office in New Boston, the colony's capital city. Lisa was a small woman with brown hair and smart eyes who had run the colony for 15 years. She read Jake's report twice before calling an emergency meeting of the Colony Council. How long do we have? Asked Dr. Alex Rodriguez as he entered the council chambers. Alex was the colony's science advisor, a man who knew more about alien species than anyone else on Haven. His grandfather had fought in the border wars back when Earth first met hostile aliens. Unknown, Lisa answered. Jake says their ship is huge, maybe 20 times bigger than our largest transport. They could have thousands of crew members. Council member Ben Parker, who ran the colony's military training programs, sat down at the long table with a grim look on his face. Are they making any moves toward the planet? Not yet, Lisa said, but that could change fast. Alex, what do we know about this ship design? Alex pulled up images on the wall screen. The alien vessel looked like a long metal tube with strange curves and spikes coming out of it. I have never seen anything like this before, but the energy readings suggest they have weapons. Probably big ones, Lisa nodded. She had hoped this day would never come. But every colonist on Haven knew it was possible. Send out Code Red to all settlements. Full defense protocol. Tell everyone to get to their assigned positions. Code Red meant war was coming. Every man, woman, and child on Haven Colony knew exactly what to do when they heard those words. This was what they had trained for since the day they could walk. In the city of New Boston, air raid sirens started wailing. People stopped what they were doing and moved with purpose toward their emergency stations. There was no panic, no running or screaming. These people had been preparing for alien contact their whole lives. Maria Santos, the colony's chief engineer, was in the main power plant when the sirens started. She immediately began bringing the defense grid online. Hidden weapons that had been sleeping for decades started to wake up. Power flowed to shield generators that had been tested every month but never used in anger. Back on the alien ship, Captain Vex Hera received a message that made him even more worried. Captain, we are getting a response from the planet. They are transmitting in perfect Galactic Standard. That was impossible. Galactic Standard was the common language used by all the major spacefaring races. It took centuries for a species to learn it well enough to use properly. How could an unknown civilization already know it? Put it on speakers, Vex Hera ordered. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in the clear, calm tone of someone who was used to being in charge. This is Haven Colony of the Terran Republic. We see your ship in our system. State your business here or leave immediately. You have 1 hour to respond. Vex Hera's skin went from purple to a deep red that meant extreme stress. Terran Republic? That was the name humans used for their government. But humans were a small, weak species that barely had space travel. The Empire's files said they were no threat to anyone. Yet here was proof that humans had built a colony in a system far from Earth. A colony with enough confidence to give orders to an Imperial exploration ship. Send a standard first contact message, Vex Hera told his communications officer. Tell them we come in peace and request permission to meet with their leaders. The response came back in less than 10 minutes. Permission granted for a small diplomatic party only. Land at the coordinates we are sending you. Any attempt to land more than 5 individuals will be considered an act of war. Vex Hera stared at the message display. These humans were giving him orders. Him, a captain in the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. It was unthinkable, yet something about their tone made him think they were not making empty threats. On Haven Colony, Jake Morrison smiled as he read the alien response. They were going to land. That meant the colony would finally get a chance to show these aliens what humans were really capable of when they had time to prepare. The trap was set. Admiral Thexton received the message from Captain Vex Hara while reviewing patrol reports in his command center aboard the Imperial dreadnought Sword of Empire. The massive warship floated in space near the Zephyrian homeworld, along with the rest of Battle Group 7. When he read about rebellious humans on a forgotten colony world, his first reaction was to laugh. Humans, he said to his chief of staff. A species so weak they can barely reach their own moon wants to fight the Empire. This should be entertaining. The Admiral was an old warrior with scars across his face and arms from a dozen battles. He had conquered 3 star systems and put down rebellions on twice that many worlds. In his experience, primitive species always surrendered when they saw the true power of the Empire. This would be no different. Prepare Battle Group 7 for immediate departure, he ordered. 6 battleships, 12 heavy cruisers, and 30 fighter squadrons should be enough to handle 1 small human colony. On Haven Colony, Colonel Danny Hayes coordinated the planet's military preparations from the Underground Command Center in New Boston. The facility had been built into solid rock 50 meters below the city, with walls thick enough to survive a direct nuclear strike. Banks of screens showed every defensive position on the planet, from the orbital platforms to the hidden weapon bunkers scattered across 6 continents. Orbital defenses report ready, announced Major Tony Clark from his position at the tactical display. All platforms are powered up and tracking the alien ship. Missile batteries loaded and targeting systems online. Danny nodded as he studied the status reports flowing in from across the planet. Haven Colony had been preparing for this day since the first colonists set foot on the world. Every city, every town, every farm had been designed with defense in mind. What looked like peaceful civilian settlements were actually military fortresses built to withstand alien attack. Ground forces status, Danny asked. All militia units reporting ready, replied Captain Chris Turner. 12 million colonists, 8 million trained for combat. Weapons distributed, ammunition stockpiled, defensive positions manned. Sir, every adult on this planet knows how to fight. This was the colony's greatest secret. Haven was not just a farming world with some military defenses. It was a military base that happened to grow food and raise families. Every colonist was a soldier. Every settlement was a fortress. Every peaceful-looking building hid weapons that could destroy alien armies. Dr. Rachel Foster monitored galactic communications from her position in the intelligence center. Her job was to intercept alien military transmissions and learn as much as possible about enemy capabilities and intentions. What she found made her stomach tight with worry. Colonel Hayes, you need to see this, she called out. I am picking up Zephyrian military communications. They are sending a full battle group to our system. At least 50 ships, maybe more. Danny walked over to her station and read the decoded messages. The aliens were not taking any chances. They were bringing enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds like Haven. How long until they arrive? 3 days, maybe 4 if they stop to refuel along the way. Danny activated the colony-wide communication system. His voice reached every settlement on the planet simultaneously. This is Colonel Hayes to all defense units. Enemy fleet approaching. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Lisa Carter received the message in her office and immediately called an emergency session of the Colony Council. The 12 elected leaders of Haven's major settlements gathered in the council chambers within an hour. Each face showed the grim determination of people who had always known this day would come. We need to make a final decision, Lisa told them. We can still evacuate the planet. Our transport ships could get most of the population to the outer colonies before the aliens arrive. Ben Parker, who represented the military districts, shook his head. Administrator Carter, with respect, that is not an option. This is our home. We built it with our own hands. We raised our children here. We are not running from any alien empire. The evacuation ships could not carry everyone anyway, added Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who spoke for the scientific community. And if we run now, the aliens will follow us to every other human world. This is where we make our stand. Council member Steve Coleman, who ran the colony's fighter pilot training program, stood up from his chair. My pilots have been training their whole lives for this battle. So have our soldiers, our engineers, our farmers. Everyone on this planet is ready to fight. We just need to give the order." Lisa looked around the table at the faces of the people she had led for 15 years. These were not wild-eyed fanatics eager for war. They were reasonable people who had thought carefully about their choices and made their decision long ago. Haven Colony would not surrender. "Very well," she said. "We fight." Chief Engineer Maria Santos worked without sleep for the next 2 days, bringing every defensive system on the planet to full power. Hidden fusion reactors that had run on standby for decades now roared to life. Weapon systems that had been tested monthly but never used in combat came online with the hum of deadly energy. The colony's greatest secret was its power source. While most human worlds relied on simple fusion plants, Haven Colony had something much more advanced. Deep beneath the planet's crust, massive antimatter reactors provided almost unlimited energy. The colonists had been building these systems for over a century, preparing for exactly this kind of war. Lieutenant Karen Brooks commanded Orbital Defense Platform 1, the largest of the 7 space stations that protected Haven from attack. The platform looked like a spinning wheel of metal and ceramic, with weapon ports hidden behind panels that appeared to be simple communication arrays. Karen and her crew of 50 had trained for this moment their entire adult lives. "All platforms report ready," she announced to Planetary Command. "We have targeting locks on the alien ship. Recommend we take them out before their reinforcements arrive." "Negative," came Danny Hayes' reply. "Do not fire unless they fire first. We want them to think they have the advantage." This was part of Haven's strategy. Let the aliens underestimate human capabilities until the last possible moment. Let them think they were fighting primitives with simple weapons. The surprise would be devastating when they learned the truth. Dr. Kevin Murphy, the colony's strategic analyst, worked with a team of historians and military experts to predict alien tactics. They studied every battle the Zephyrians had ever fought, looking for weaknesses and patterns they could exploit. They always used the same approach, Kevin reported to the command staff. Orbital bombardment to destroy major cities, then landing troops to occupy what is left. They expect their enemies to surrender after the first attack. What they do not expect, added Major Clark, is for their enemies to fight back with weapons as advanced as their own. The colony's fighter pilots spent the last day before battle in final preparations. Captain Amy Chen led Squadron 1, 24 pilots who flew ships that looked primitive but carried technology decades ahead of anything in the galactic databases. Her grandfather had been a pilot in Earth's first war against hostile aliens, and he had taught her everything he knew about space combat. "Remember your training," she told her pilots during the final briefing. "The aliens think we are weak. Let them keep thinking that until we show them otherwise." As the deadline approached, 12 million colonists took their positions. Farmers left their fields and went to hidden bunkers. Shopkeepers closed their stores and picked up weapons. Children said goodbye to their parents and went to the deep shelters that would protect them from orbital bombardment. But this was not a planet of victims waiting to be conquered. This was a world of soldiers who had been preparing for war their entire lives. Every man and woman on Haven Colony knew exactly what they were fighting for: the right to live free from alien rule. On the morning of the 3rd day, long-range sensors detected the approaching alien fleet. 53 ships of various sizes, from small destroyers to massive battleships capable of destroying entire cities with single shots, more firepower than most species could gather in a lifetime of preparation. Lisa Carter stood in the command center, watching the tactical displays show enemy ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. In a few hours, the battle for Haven Colony would begin. "Send one final message to the alien fleet," she ordered. "Tell them they have one chance to leave our system peacefully. After that, we will consider them hostile invaders and respond accordingly." The message was sent. The aliens did not reply. The war was about to begin. Admiral Thexton stood on the bridge of the Sword of Empire, watching his fleet arrange itself in battle formation around Haven Colony. 53 warships spread across space in a pattern designed to destroy any resistance the humans might offer. His tactical officers had calculated that the planet's defenses could be neutralized within 6 hours of the first attack. "Begin orbital bombardment," the Admiral ordered. "Target the largest cities first. When they see their homes burning, these humans will surrender quickly enough." The Zephyrian battleships opened fire with weapons that could melt mountains. Beams of concentrated energy lanced down toward the planet's surface, each one carrying enough power to level a city block. The aliens expected to see massive explosions and rising columns of smoke as the human settlements were destroyed. Instead, they watched their attacks splash harmlessly against energy shields. That should not exist. Lieutenant Karen Brooks smiled as she watched the alien weapons hit Haven. Colony's defensive barriers from her position on HFY Orbital Defense Platform 1. The shields had been built using technology that Earth had developed during the border wars, conflicts that the aliens knew nothing about. Each city was protected by generators that could absorb and redirect almost any energy weapon. All platforms, this is Brooks, she announced on the combat frequency. Shields are holding. Enemy weapons are having no effect. Recommend we show them what real firepower looks like. This is Colonel Hayes, came the reply from Planetary Command. All platforms authorized to engage. Show them what they are really fighting. Karen activated the weapon systems that had been hidden for over a century. What the aliens had thought were simple communication arrays revealed themselves as fusion cannons, capable of punching holes through any known armor. 7 orbital platforms opened fire simultaneously, sending beams of pure destruction toward the alien fleet. The first Zephyrian battleship died in seconds. The human weapons cut through its shields like they were made of paper, then melted through armor that was supposed to be invincible. The massive warship broke apart in a ball of flame and twisted metal, its crew of 3,000 dead before they knew what hit them. Admiral Thexton stared in shock as 2 more of his battleships exploded under human fire. That is impossible. Our intelligence report said these humans have primitive weapons. Sir, their weapon signatures are unlike anything in our databases, reported his science officer. The energy output is comparable to our own heavy artillery. A 4th battleship vanished in a flash of light as a human fusion beam struck its reactor core. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface, a new star that burned for 30 seconds before fading to scattered debris. On Haven Colony, Captain Chris Turner led his fighter squadrons into space to engage the alien fleet directly. His ship looked like a simple atmospheric craft that had been adapted for spaceflight, but appearances were deceiving. The fighter carried weapons and defenses that incorporated technology from 3 different wars that humanity had fought and won. Phoenix Squadron. Form up on me, Chris commanded as his 24 fighters accelerated toward the enemy formation. Remember, they think we are primitives flying obsolete equipment. Let's keep them thinking that until we are close enough to hurt them. The Zephyrian fighter pilots laughed when they saw the human craft approaching. The ships looked crude and slow compared to their own sleek interceptors. It should be easy to destroy these primitive fighters before they could get close enough to matter. The first alien pilot to attack Chris Turner's ship got the surprise of his life. The human fighter's defensive systems absorbed his energy blasts completely, then returned fire with weapons that vaporized his interceptor in a single shot. The pilot's last thought was confusion about how such a primitive-looking ship could be so deadly. Chris led his squadron through the alien formation like a sword cutting through silk. Every human fighter was flown by a pilot who had trained since childhood for exactly this kind of battle. Every weapon system had been tested and refined over decades of preparation. The Zephyrians had expected to fight farmers with hunting rifles, but instead they faced warriors with weapons as advanced as their own. On the planet's surface, Major Tony Clark commanded the ground defenses as alien landing craft tried to reach the surface. The Zephyrians had decided to invade the planet directly since their orbital bombardment had failed. Hundreds of troop transports dropped through the atmosphere toward what they thought were defenseless cities. The first wave of landing craft made it halfway to the ground before the surface-to-air missiles found them. Hidden weapon bunkers that looked like ordinary buildings opened up to reveal missile launchers that could track and destroy targets moving at incredible speeds. Alien transports exploded in mid-air, raining burning wreckage across empty fields. "This is ground control to all defensive units," Tony announced. "Enemy landing attempt in progress. All weapon systems free to engage. Repeat, all weapon systems free to engage." The aliens who managed to reach the ground found themselves fighting an enemy they could not understand. Every human settlement was a fortress built to withstand attack. Every colonist was a trained soldier who knew the terrain better than any invader could. The Zephyrians had expected to fight frightened civilians hiding in their homes, but instead they faced organized military units that had been preparing for this battle their entire lives. Sergeant Lisa Parker led her militia unit in the defense of New Boston's outer districts. Her squad of 20 farmers and shopkeepers moved through the city streets with the precision of professional soldiers, using buildings and terrain to ambush alien troops who thought they were fighting amateurs. "Contact, 200 meters north," called out Private Danny Green as he spotted a squad of Zephyrian soldiers moving toward their position. 12 hostiles in standard assault formation. Lisa smiled as she sighted her rifle on the lead alien. The weapon looked like a simple hunting rifle, but it fired rounds that could penetrate any armor the Zephyrians had ever developed. "Take them down. Show these invaders what happens when they threaten our home." The battle raged for hours across the planet's surface and in the space above it. Every attack the aliens launched met with resistance they had never expected from a supposedly primitive species. Human fighters destroyed alien interceptors with contemptuous ease. Human ground forces stopped every landing attempt and wiped out the troops who managed to reach the surface. Human orbital platforms continued to fire on the enemy fleet, destroying ship after ship with weapons that should not exist. Admiral Thexton watched his fleet die around him with growing terror. In 6 hours of fighting, he had lost 27 ships and over 60,000 crew members. The human casualties appeared to be minimal. His intelligence reports had been completely wrong about this species' capabilities. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," announced his communications officer. "It is addressed to you personally." "Put it on screen," the Admiral ordered. Lisa Carter appeared on the bridge display, standing in what was obviously a military command center. Behind her, tactical displays showed the battle in progress, with alien ships marked in red and human forces marked in blue. The humans were clearly winning. "Admiral Thexton," Lisa said in a calm voice that carried no trace of fear, "I am offering you one chance to withdraw your fleet and leave our system. Your attack has failed. Your forces are being destroyed. You have nothing to gain by continuing this battle." The Admiral's pride warred with his military judgment. He had lost over half his fleet to an enemy he had expected to crush without effort. His remaining ships were outgunned and outfought by human forces that seemed to have unlimited ammunition and energy. "This is not over," he replied. "The Empire has thousands of ships. We will return with enough force to turn your world into radioactive dust." Lisa's expression did not change. "You are welcome to try. But I should warn you that Haven Colony is not the only human world that has been preparing for this war. There are dozens of colonies like ours scattered across this part of the galaxy, all with the same defenses, all with the same weapons. If you want to fight humanity, you will have to be prepared to fight all of us." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Thexton staring at a blank screen. Dozens of colonies like this one, each with weapons that could destroy Imperial fleets. The implications were terrifying. "Sir, the humans are launching another attack," reported his tactical officer. "Multiple fighter squadrons approaching from planetary orbit. Our remaining ships are taking heavy damage." The Admiral made the hardest decision of his military career. "All ships withdraw to hyperspace immediately. We are leaving this system." As the surviving Zephyrian ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, the humans did not pursue them. They had made their point. Haven Colony was not a target to be conquered easily. It was a fortress world that could defend itself against any threat. But both sides knew this was only the beginning. The Zephyrians would return with more ships and better weapons. And when they did, they would find that humanity had been preparing for that possibility as well. The real war was just starting. The surviving ships of Battle Group 7 limped back to Zephyrian space, carrying news that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Order. Admiral Thexton sat in his private quarters aboard the damaged Sword of Empire, staring at casualty reports that seemed impossible to believe. 27 ships destroyed, over 60,000 crew members dead, and they had accomplished nothing except learning that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Emperor Zexthon III received the Admiral's report in his throne room on the Imperial homeworld. The massive chamber was filled with advisors and military officials who had gathered to hear about the easy victory over a primitive human colony. Instead, they listened in growing horror as Thexton described weapons that could cut through Imperial armor like tissue paper and defenses that made their most powerful bombardments useless. "You are telling me," the Emperor said in a voice that made everyone in the room step backward, "that a single human colony destroyed half of Battle Group 7? One world with 12 million inhabitants defeated 53 of our finest warships. Admiral Thexton knelt before the throne, his scarred face showing the exhaustion of a warrior who had seen his fleet destroyed by an enemy he could not understand. Your Majesty, these humans are not the primitive species our intelligence files describe. They have technology that matches or exceeds our own. Their entire population appears to be militarized. Every settlement is a fortress. Every citizen is a soldier. The Emperor's chief intelligence advisor, a thin creature named Vashitar, approached the throne with data tablets in his 4 hands. Majesty, we have been analyzing the battle recordings. The human weapons show energy signatures that should be impossible for their technology level. Their defensive systems appear to use some form of energy manipulation that we do not understand. More importantly, added Admiral Thexton, their leader claimed that Haven Colony is not unique. She said there are dozens of human worlds with the same defenses, the same weapons. If that is true, then humanity represents a threat to the entire empire. On Haven Colony, the cleanup from the battle continued as the colonists counted their victories and their losses. The casualties had been remarkably light considering the size of the alien fleet they had faced. 57 dead, 300 wounded, and 2 cities with minor damage from the few alien troops who had reached the ground. It had been a complete victory by any military standard. Lisa Carter stood in the main communication center, preparing to send the most important message of her life. The quantum communication array was powerful enough to reach Earth instantly, bypassing the normal delays of interstellar communication. What she had to tell the Terran Republic would change everything. This is Administrator Carter of Haven Colony to Terran Republic Central Command, she began. We have successfully repelled an attack by a species calling themselves the Zephyrian Empire. Enemy fleet consisted of 53 warships, 27 ships destroyed, remainder retreated, human casualties minimal, colony intact and fully operational. She paused, knowing that the next part of her message would cause chaos in the halls of power on Earth. Central Command, the secret is out. The aliens now know that humanity has advanced military capabilities. They know about our colonies. They know about our weapons. Recommend immediate activation of Defense Protocol Omega. Defense Protocol Omega was the plan that Earth had been preparing for over 2 centuries. When hostile aliens finally discovered the true extent of human colonization and military power, humanity would reveal itself as the galactic superpower it had secretly become. No more hiding, no more pretending to be a weak species confined to a single star system. The time for deception was over. Dr. Alex Rodriguez worked with his team of scientists to analyze the wreckage of destroyed Zephyrian ships. The alien technology was impressive in some ways, but it was also decades behind what humanity had achieved in secret. The border wars of the early 22nd century had forced Earth to develop weapons and defenses that no other species possessed. Their energy weapons are powerful but inefficient, Alex reported to the colony leadership. Their armor is strong but has weaknesses we can exploit. Most importantly, their tactics are predictable. They are used to fighting enemies who surrender after the first attack. Colonel Danny Hayes studied the battle reports with satisfaction. His defensive plan had worked perfectly. The aliens had expected to fight frightened civilians, but instead they had faced the descendants of Earth's greatest military minds. Haven Colony had been founded by veterans of humanity's first interstellar wars, people who knew what it took to survive in a hostile galaxy. Send a message to all the other colonies, Danny ordered. Tell them the Zephyrians know about us now. It is time to activate all defensive systems and prepare for full-scale war. The message went out to 47 human colonies, scattered across 100 light-years of space. Each world was like Haven, a fortress disguised as a peaceful settlement. Each population was trained for war from childhood. Each government was secretly controlled by military officers who had been preparing for this day for generations. On Earth, President Maria Vasquez called an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. The leaders of every nation gathered in the secure bunkers beneath Geneva to hear news that would reshape human civilization. The time of hiding was over. Humanity was about to take its place as a major power in galactic politics. Ladies and gentlemen, President Vasquez announced to the assembled leaders, we have just received confirmation that our colony at Haven has successfully repelled an alien invasion fleet. The enemy now knows about our colonies and our military capabilities. I am hereby authorizing the implementation of Defense Protocol Omega. The plan that had been decades in the making began to unfold. Hidden military bases across human space powered up weapon systems that had been kept in storage for generations. Colony worlds that had pretended to be simple farming settlements revealed themselves as heavily fortified military outposts. Transport ships that had seemed designed for peaceful trade opened hidden weapon bays and missile launchers. Most shocking of all was the revelation of Earth's true military strength. The planet that aliens thought was a backward world with primitive technology was actually the center of a military-industrial complex that had been building warships in secret for over a century. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt and the outer planets had been constructing vessels that incorporated technology from every war humanity had ever fought. Admiral Sarah Kim commanded the Sol Defense fleet from her flagship, the battleship Terran Pride. The ship was larger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet, with weapons that could destroy entire planets if necessary. Behind her sailed 237 other warships, each one incorporating the lessons learned from humanity's long struggle to survive in a dangerous galaxy. All ships. This is Admiral Kim, she announced to her fleet. We have waited 200 years for this moment. Today humanity reveals itself to the galaxy. Today we stop pretending to be weak. Today we show every alien species what happens when they threaten human worlds. Back in Zephyrian space, Emperor Zexthon faced the worst intelligence failure in his empire's history. Not only were humans far more dangerous than anyone had believed, but they had apparently been preparing for war for centuries. The species that everyone had dismissed as primitives had been quietly building an empire of their own. How many human colonies are there really? The Emperor demanded of his intelligence staff. Vashatar consulted his data tablets with hands that shook slightly. Majesty, we are finding evidence of human settlements in over 60 star systems. Each one appears to be heavily fortified. Our estimates of their total population may be off by a factor of 10 or more. The Emperor sat back on his throne, feeling the weight of a decision that could determine the fate of his empire. Humanity had revealed itself as a major threat, but they had also shown that they could be reasoned with. The human leader on Haven Colony had offered terms for peace before the battle began. Maybe it was not too late to avoid a war that could destroy both civilizations. On Haven Colony, Lisa Carter received a message that made her smile for the first time since the battle had ended. It was from Earth, from President Vasquez herself, and it contained just 4 words. Well done, Administrator Carter. The message was followed by detailed orders that would transform Haven Colony from a hidden military outpost to the forward base for humanity's expansion into this part of the galaxy. Supply ships were already on their way with reinforcements and new weapon systems. Construction crews would arrive within months to build shipyards and defense platforms that would make Haven Colony impregnable. Dr. Amy Chen, the colony's chief military scientist, worked with her team to analyze captured Zephyrian technology. What they found would give humanity even greater advantages in the war to come. The aliens had superior faster-than-light travel technology, but their weapons and defenses were decades behind human capabilities. We can reverse engineer their hyperdrive systems, Amy reported to Lisa Carter. Within a year, we could have human fleets that can cross the galaxy in weeks instead of months. Combined with our superior weapons, that would give us a decisive advantage over any alien empire.